I was really debating back and forth whether I was going to incorporate this into the live stream that I did on Fat Joe a couple weeks ago, or if I was going to turn it into its own separate video. Like, trust me when I tell you, I was literally debating hard on whether or not I was going to turn this into a live or regular video, especially since at the time of me posting the video, the post that you see, it was around the time when I was getting ready to do the live on Fat Joe, and it kind of correlated with each other. But I said, you know what? Let me just let the Fat Joe live just remain on that and let this stand on its own. So I made this post on December 24th, 2024. Now, of course, a couple weeks have passed since I made this post, but look at the amount of engagement that it did get on here. And it's actually December 25th when I'm recording this. And look at how much has happened in over 24 hours. I literally asked this one question. One question. How come black people are told, even by other black people, to ignore anti-blackness? It was met with 85 responses, over 246 reposts, over 1,300 likes, and 120 bookmarks. I'm one of those, as you can see, because I bookmarked it just in case I missed and did not have the post at my disposal, because you know it can get lost in the shuffle. And man, when I tell you it was met with a mixed bag of individuals, I mean just that. It was some people that was feeling what I was saying, but there was a lot of people who found this post and they pretty much aired it out, and they did exactly what I knew they would do. I keep telling y'all, if you are on X and you have a good sizable audience, and sometimes you don't even have to need to have a sizable audience, but if you say something that could, one, trigger the algorithm, or two, it falls into the eyes of certain people, you'll be amazed at how far it spreads and what they will say. So what we're going to do here, and I don't know how long this video is going to be, is we're going to go through as many posts and responses as possible. Yes, it is 85 of them. And we're going to go through some of these posts because I want y'all to see the mindset of individuals, of how they think at me just asking this question. It's not, some of it is not even going to surprise you, but let's get into it. Shout out to Beatzilla. He responded with, I wish I knew. You have Corey the Truth that said mental plantation. You had Kid Gravity said because they feel the need, they need to feel comfortable about their ishy upbringings and the failed teaching of their parents. You can't put your heads down forever. Reparations Nation says to keep us subjugated and below others, to speak to our moral authority, to make us feel quote unquote guilty for being upset about something that is harming us. The black ones are just self-hating, where you see it in tethers, plain and simple. Rebecca said they're not talking about it and they think not talking about it will make it disappear. Don't ruffle the feathers. Now, let's get into this part right here. This is where it gets interesting. And I'm going to try my best to keep the editing down on this one, because I want this to be a raw, like almost like a raw real-time reaction, as if this was a live stream. As you can see, I'm just scrolling through. It might be it's going to probably be a little bit of edits in there, but that's going to come a little bit later. So we have this person right here who came with the goofiness with this response. They said because, and I don't know why they put a 3 there with because. It's not like their E was broken because they have an E at the end of because, but that's besides the point. They said because everyone else ignore anti whatever they are, just live life fam. And I reply with, now we both know that is a damn lie. And it is. He's basically trying to tell us, and you know, one of my biggest pet peeves is do not insult my intelligence. He literally did just that and insulted my intelligence by saying that everyone else ignores anti whatever they are. If that's the case, then why does the Asian American community have a whole hate crime bill that's literally called anti-Asian hate or something along those lines? Now, the thing is, when I replied back to them, they never replied back to me to rebut what I just said, because they know what they said was a load of crap. So this person right here is just telling you that we should just ignore whenever anti-blackness is done. Let's continue. We have this next post right here. Silence shows you're unfazed by other people's opinions. To which I reply with, anti-blackness is not an opinion, it is a system. Now this person replied back, but all he did was reply back with an emoji, I guess like clapping in their hands. So I'm sitting here saying to myself, are you trying to be condescending, or are you agreeing with what I'm saying? And if you are agreeing with what I'm saying, why did you reply with what you replied with? But let's continue. This person said, it's so many answers to this question. Where do we start? Now, this person right here, this one right here, this Annette Albright person, who I have no clue who she is until I looked on her page. And I said, let me go ahead and do a little bit more research, but we'll get to that a little bit later. She says, what does anti-blackness look like? Now, I haven't clicked on the replies for anybody else, but man, when I tell you, this one right here, I didn't even bother responding with, because I want you to look at the reply she got underneath it. This person said this question, as in they're agreeing with them. Someone else says, your hair, for example, is anti-black. Someone else said, Dominicans and Tunis government rounding up and mass deporting black people. Someone else says, make your way into that HR department of yours, your friends and all of your family. Denial of white supremacy doesn't make it magically disappear. It makes you part of the cover up. You don't feel weird publicly displaying that convenient and willful ignorance. And this person came and said, your whiteness is showing, Annette. And then she says, get up to 200 followers and come back. You need to focus. And when I tell you, these two right here went at it for over an hour, and then someone else jumped into it as well, and they were going back and forth with each other. Now, like I said, put a pin in Annette Albright, because when I looked on her page, it told me all I needed to know about her. So we have this person right here says, and look at this one. Look at their name, Urban Tom Sowell. That tells you all you need to know right there. They said, probably because time isn't infinite, and anti-blackness, quote unquote, and they put it in quotes as if it's something like a figment of our imagination, is a small issue relative to other things we should be focused on. This other person says, so the ones who like to keep their heads down can fit in. Someone says, I never heard this BS. So again, whenever it pertains to us, it's BS. Someone else says, because anti-blackness is a made up concept that made niggas angry and insufferable. They literally are falling right into my trap to those who are speaking like this. They literally fell right for it. This person says, weak, can't think strategically or critically. And this person right here says, because every other race ignores their race. I don't know why they're sitting up here telling this lie, talking about every other group ignores whatever. Like they're just letting things roll off of their back. That's crazy. But they're telling us this lie so we can stop talking about it. That's why I made this post. I didn't know it was going to get this kind of reception. Like I said, whenever I post stuff on here or on YouTube, it's not with the benefit of it going viral. Of course, I want it to be seen, but if it gains the kind of traction like this post did, so be it, because now it lets me know who and what we're dealing with. Then she says, get over it and move on. This person says, those the type that Harriet left behind. Someone else said Christianity. Someone said, thank God I don't ever have to think about this. Someone says, because acknowledging is not moving you forward. How you at the bottom of every social metric and loud LOL. Sorry about that little jump. I don't know what happened. Someone else said, maybe because they spent their lives fighting it to no avail. Another person said, that's a good question. Someone says, being told to ignore anti-blackness isn't the issue. Our inability or unwillingness to enact consequences is the issue, which is why people keep playing in our faces. Someone else says, if we respond to everything anti-black, we'd be working until the end of time. Instead, I think it would be more beneficial for us to appreciate ourselves, uplift ourselves, and make spaces, institutional and conventional, for ourselves that embrace an opportunity for us. Now, imagine if I posted up something about reparations. I can only imagine what kind of response that'll get. I mean, we've seen the pushback from just that alone. Just type reparations and watch them flood into the comments. Someone else says, because all we do is scream and fuss unless we're actually going to organize and solve problems. Talking about it is irrelevant. But I'm curious, what do you think is the most pressing anti-black issue we need to solve right now? And this reminds me of a post or a response someone had left on a post that I did announcing about the Fat Joe stream. They asked a similar question, and I said I could give you one and then it'll turn into 21 questions, because then you just want to have a reason to go and have a back and forth with me. That's why I don't dignify it with a response, because I already know what type of game you're playing. And the thing is, any other group could bring to you any issues that they have, and you'll find a way to say, oh, well, here's the next steps. With us, it's like, well, that's not going to work. Well, we need to do this. Well, as it comes to reparations, there needs to be a study done. And it's a lot of well this and a lot of well that. That's usually how the response typically is with us. And they can't even sit up there and lie and say that is. They'll try it, but it is what it is. Someone says, unwilling to fight the fight takes courage. Someone else says, I think because paying so much attention to it is low-key depressing. LOL. No ethnic group on this planet actually respects Black people, excluding the culture and sexuality. We are hated even amongst each other. Someone says, we're in a perpetual cycle between old and new forms of anti-Blackness. Why even attempt to keep up or combat it? They will never change. So now you're seeing, like I said, with this post, you're seeing multiple different types of responses. You're seeing people who are acknowledging the post and saying why it is what it is. You have people that are telling us to get over it. Then you have people that have like this ironically cool person that comes with a defeated attitude. Like they just given up, like they've waved the white flag and ain't nothing gonna change, so why bother? Someone else says because that's how they eat. Someone says because people think talking about something is manifesting it, and that happens a lot in conversations where people think you're being negative or causing problems for talking about real life anti-Blackness. Another one says because we are the culture and awake those against are asleep. Someone else says some of them hands don't work because those people are anti-Black. Only foreigners say, I hate to break it to you, Koba is fed the F up, but it's not just only foreigners. And that's the thing we got to understand. I know that we are in the process of delineating. Most people have already done it. But we got to understand that there are even those of us who identify as FBA who have this same mindset. It's not all just foreigners, because then let's just say that it's foreigners. Fine, we got them out the way, but we still got to deal with the other ones that are FBA that are saying and doing the same exact thing. And you really want to deal with them because they're the ones that are of your lineage. Those are the ones that are closest to you. Let's continue. Someone else said cult. Someone else said some Black people are so motivated to get white acceptance that they begin to believe that racism is a fairy tale. Someone else said it's manipulation is all you need to know. Quote unquote strategy or something like that. Because it's too real for them to sit in even for a brief time. Trauma response. Sadly, we don't stand together in unison. Folks will make excuses or be passive in effort to have a seat at the table. There's no solidarity. Majority have learned how to conform. In short, many want full acceptance from other groups. I blame soy milk. Someone else says dub Euro, mindset. Another one said they're ops. This one right here. Now this person's trying to activate a whole gender war, and they got Naomi Campbell's picture up there. I don't even know if this is a Black person. Remember the video I just recently did about that person pretending to be Black, and it wasn't even him. He wasn't even Black. Someone said most Black men have low racial self-esteem. Their bloodline never left the plantation. So I got those kind of comments too. The whole gender divide. I think that's the only person that did that though. Someone says because the so-called Black people that say ignored are immigrants most likely. Again, going back to what I was saying, not all of them are immigrants that are saying that. And that's a thing we got to get out of. It's not just mainly immigrants that are saying that. It's a lot of people who are actually FBA that are saying that too. Someone else said because folks scared of revolution, folks know eventually we may have to mobilize and get in the field for physical altercations, and many want to avoid that because living better than dying for freedom. Because living is better than dying for freedom. The same spirit been around since slavery, and now it's festering. Then this one says most Black people don't take anti-Blackness seriously. That's why most aren't against dating the very people that made Blackness a crime. Someone else says because if we accept being a bottom caste, it allows everyone to step on us with ease, even by other Black people. Someone says probably for the same reason Black people are comfortable with mainstream putting white men with white women on a consistent basis. The ultimate anti-Blackness. Anti-Blackness equals anti-Black Americanness. Then this person right says the F is anti-Blackness, seriously asking. Again, I wouldn't even dignify that with a response, because just like with Annette, or whatever her last name is, Annette Albright, they're doing the same exact thing. If I respond one time, then it's going to turn into a whole nother thing. So I don't even dignify that with a response. They know exactly what it is. They're just pretending. If all that energy is focused in uniting ourselves against races, we could have been somewhere. Someone says some of genuinely stay in our lane and really could care less about anything that doesn't affect our health and well-being. Some of us try to preach that way of life to others. It's not just anti-blackness. Look at it as an upgrade to words don't hurt. Then you have this other person. What is anti-blackness do you speak of? Someone else says, I just want black men to be men and not complain about what people say. We've inherited too much of our mother's personality, so we have another person who's doing the gender thing, but this time it's coming from a man. And that's got to end. Black men need to step up and fight this fake race war, and they call the race war fake. Someone says, I will never understand this logic. Why should anyone be cool with disrespect? That's some weak-minded ish. Someone else says, I will never accept that racist position. We have full rights by the Constitution and our own self-determination. Sorry about that. Someone says, because it's a waste of time to fight for acceptance instead of fighting for our own. Because engaging with ignorance doesn't do any good. We wouldn't be in this situation had our earlier generation listened to Malcolm X instead of Martin Luther King. If you know, you know. Someone else says, a lot of people dismiss personal criticism as anti-blackness. So we have this person right here that is trying to tell me that we label what would be called anti-blackness as criticism. But these are some of the same people that are going around calling, yelling anti-white because they're not the center of attention. Go figure. Someone else says, I told y'all about bed winches, but did I ever tell you about those house ends and field ends? Someone says, this is out of love because nobody cares. Cowards, because at some point you sound like a bee, so on and so forth. I'm not even going to read the rest of them. Y'all pretty much get the gist of it. Like, you're getting the gist of how people responded to this particular post, to the point where they were starting to just say, a lot of them were saying a bunch of BS. Now, remember what I told you about putting a pin in about that Annette Albright person? Well, I said, let me go ahead and look this woman up, because she sounds like she might have a bio somewhere, and indeed she does. And it led me to this website called ballotpedia.org. And we're going to read from that and find out some interesting things about Annette Albright. And I'm going to ask you, who does she remind you of? It says Annette Albright ran for election to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education at large in North Carolina. Albright lost in the general election on November 7, 2023. Annette lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. She earned an associate degree in corrections and juvenile services, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and a master's degree in organizational management and leadership development. Albright's career experience includes working for the North Carolina Department of Corrections with the Mecklenburg County Land Use and Environmental Services Agency and Child Support Enforcement. So now we're going to go through her elections 2023. So as you can see right here, general election for Charlotte, and it's for 3 seats. And of course, the people with the most votes gets the seats. Now, if we look through here and count down from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's Annette Albright right there. She fell at number 6, which means she did not win her spot or her race for these top 3 spots. She came in 6th with 7.9% of the vote, with only 24,590 votes. Now let's scroll down some more to 2019 for the same exact thing that she ran for in 2023. Now let's look here. She's not in the top 3. She's also number 6 again with 7.3% at 19,836 votes. Now let's scroll down some more to 2017. Now look at this part right here. I'm not going to read it. It's cut. I know on your screen it's kind of cut off, but I'm not even going to read that part. Well, here she is right here. She came in number 2, but she lost by a huge margin because the person who won got 8,600 votes and she only got 5,392 votes. So that was not even a close second in which she landed in. So I'm looking at this right here and I said, this woman reminds me so much of Kari Lake, you know, a woman that just can't win no matter what, Or I guess you can say she's like a Laverne Spicer, another person that just can't win no matter what. So what do? They get online and they start spewing a whole bunch of rhetoric about black people. And that's exactly what I found when I started to peruse through some of her page on X. But then I found out something even more interesting about Annette Albright. This woman, Annette Albright, was a speaker on the last night at the RNC. Yeah. And when I saw her, I said, oh, I remember her. Because, shout out to KG because he did a live doing the covering the RNC. And I remember seeing her and I'm sitting here saying to myself, who is this woman? KG probably knows who she is. So this woman comes from a long line of grifters. Like I said, if you go to Annette Albright's X account and just look at some of the stuff that she said about black people, especially black Americans, it doesn't surprise me that she came into my thread on the post that I made and then got into the back and forth that she did with other people on there in the way that she was talking. And even some of the verbiage that she was using, you would think that you were talking to someone straight off the street because she was dropping the N-word and everything. I'm gonna post some of the pictures up there and you can see for yourself. All I have to say is that's real classy, Annette. That's real classy. And it's crazy because a lot of these conservatives claim to be high and mighty and this and that and the third. And she up there talking like this. And this woman is like, I don't know how old she is, but I would say she's probably maybe in her 50s. And she's going back and forth on X under my post about and saying this stuff about this other person and calling the N-word and talking about his mama should have did this and all types of stuff like that. Like real childish. Like really. Like under my post. That's why I didn't engage with it. When I saw this, I said, what's the point? Now, that's how they were going back and forth and how she was talking under my post. Imagine what she's saying on her page. Because one of the posts that she said was about black people and these negative demographics that she posted out there that's most likely not even true. Like I said, if you go on her page, she does that quite a bit. I saw it with my own eyes. Don't believe me? Just go on her page. Annette Albright. That is right there for you. But in conclusion, you see exactly where it led to. Like coming back to the original post, this is how a lot of them felt. This is how many of them decided to act and respond to this one simple question. That should tell everyone out the sound of my voice who's watching this video how they feel about us just calling out anti-blackness. Not even just showing it, but acknowledging it. This is like modern day drapetomania. For those of y'all who don't know what drapetomania is, that was a word that was coined by Massa on the plantation that said that black people or slaves were to be seen as people as mentally ill for even wanting or demanding their freedom. Can you imagine wanting to be free from bondage for God knows how long, and them saying you're crazy for even asking, let alone demanding it? That's basically what this played out with right here. This was like modern day drapetomania, just going through this post of people saying, what is this? What is that? Oh, stop asking for this. It's not going to happen. Or being in fear. It was a bunch of different things happening based on the responses with this one post. I think that was the most interesting dynamic of how this thing played out, is that it wasn't one majority saying one thing or the other. It was a mixed bag of it going on, and most of it was not good as far as the responses go. But I'm not surprised. For starters, look at the platform in which I posted that question on. That doesn't surprise me. Look at the people that be on there, a lot of the ones who brought them blue checks, like the person that I just went in on for the last 10 minutes. So yeah, but again, I guess you can say this was another digital social experiment that I did unbeknownst to me, and these were the results.